everyone. Welcome to the Energy Explorer Live series. At iPEC, our mission is to raise the consciousness of the world one person at a time. So this Energy Explorer series highlights one iPEC graduate at a time who's using their talents, drive, and highest selves to live their purpose. I'm Erica, and I'm on the marketing team here at iPEC. So our guest today is Anna Chen, an iPEC graduate and coach. Anna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Anna. So I'm a life coach. I live in Paris and I graduated in 2015. So it's been quite some time now. I have two niche. I help my client find their life purpose, connect to their passion, and to connect to and change and transition to their career they love. And my second niche is helping Asian women, and I coach them around identity crisis, around the cultural connection, and I coach them around how to connect to their parents and relationship with them. So here's what I'm doing.
That's incredible. Thank you, Anna. So I'd love to jump in and ask why you decided to become a coach.
That's a long story. I try to make it as short as possible. So I decided to become a coach. Actually, it's a story that kind of pulled me back in my previous career. I used to be an IT security officer. And actually, back then, I kind of chose that career because I was good. It's IT, everything was logical, but I never thought of doing something I really loved. And in that career, at some point, I began to be sick. I had hyperthyroidism one time and I cured it, and the second time again, but everything was so much more difficult because all the symptoms were much harder. And this time the doctor told me that he thought it was not convenient for him to cure me because it takes a lot of blood tests and it's really daunting for him. So he told me like, oh, you can have it removed. And when he told me that, something kind of clicked, and I felt like I don't want to remove part of my body that can heal. So I decided to take my own healing in my own hands. And I talk about that because it's the reason why I chose to become a coach. Actually, I decided to heal. And when I understood why I was sick, there was, the causes of my sickness could be genetic or could be caused to a trauma or stress. And actually, there was people in my family who was sick, but I couldn't do anything for my genetics change anything. And I couldn't link to any trauma. And actually stress, I could do something about it. And I was super stressed about my job. So the thing is, I decided to change my job because if I have to reduce the stress, I need to do something about it. I was so stressed that on Sunday evening, I was rolling in and out of my bed and I couldn't sleep. It was so difficult for me. So I kind of understood oh my God, the stress is causing me to be sick. So I wanted to find a job that I really, really love, and a job that gives me energy and not take me energy. So I decided to change my job, and I kind of pursued and kind of figured out at some point I wanted to change to find the job that I love, but it took me so much energy and so much fear to face. It took me 1.5 years before doing that. So I took a coach myself. Unfortunately, it was not the iPEC coach at the time, but I found a coach and she helped me through finding my own life purpose. And actually, my own life purpose is helping others improve their life and live a life of passion and purpose. And so I wanted to be a mentor. I wanted to share my story and inspire others, but there's no school for mentoring, but there's school for what it's for me, I identified was life coaching. And I decided to become a coach, and I found iPEC on the way.
I love that story. And it's so relatable that it took you a while between understanding I need to change something and making a change. I think that's probably relatable for a lot of us. Yeah. It's a place I've certainly found myself. And so that was really brave of you to keep moving forward. And I love that in looking for your life purpose, you discovered that a big piece of that is to help others find theirs. That just makes so much sense to me, that it would feel that important to you, and therefore you would see how important it is for other people as well. So thank you for sharing all of that. And So you've told me a little bit about, and I'd love for you to fill everybody else in, how you compared coach training programs and ultimately chose iPEC. This is a really fascinating process.
Yeah, actually, for me, like I told you, I wanted to change career. I didn't want just to become, a coach and to be a side job. So it was so important for me to make a real decision and choose the best coaching program. So I took several weeks, maybe several months. I don't remember how long it took to find the best coaching program. And I'm a kind of person when it comes to choose something, I need to find the best. And I create my own set of criteria to find the best. So I would like really look through all internet to find, a reputation and kind of my set of criteria is like, oh, it has to be serious. So it has to be ICF credential, has to be the most comprehensive possible. It has to be, I really wanted to become a life coach. So it has to have this kind of component. So for me, kind of like, I was so thorough. I don't think I was the most thorough, but I was reading all the information, reading all the program page. I think I spent hours like trying to read through it, every different school, and then shortlisted. I even made a Excel sheet. I'm laughing at myself when I talk about that. And actually,
but I love Excel. I'm a big fan of a spreadsheet. I feel like it's so good at doing what it does, which is show you all the information and how it relates to itself. That's also relatable.
Yeah, I had to put all the information, like every school, the cost, what they're training for, and what their philosophy. So I did it all. And I even took, we used to call that back then, they don't call it that way anymore, the free teleclasses. You go there and give you information. Actually, that's what we're doing right now. And they give you, they talk about the school philosophy. In some school, I don't think iPEC does that, but they even let you in some of the online class. So I couldn't try that. And I called the admission coach and I talked to alumni and I read the book about some trainings that they share, some books about how not how they train, but like the content and the philosophy. So I really went that far to get all the information possible. And actually, talking to alumni was so incredibly helpful because I could see how the people, they were engaged, how they were convinced, how they loved the training or not. And the other one as well is like admission coach. Talking to them is really so important for me because it's the real first feel of like who you're going to be trained by. So that's why. So this is all the thing I did.
Yeah, and it's such a comprehensive set of things, like you said, and I'm sure it did take some time, but I love that you looked at all the different angles. And I think, when you mentioned reading the book, I remember thinking that makes so much sense to look for sort of what's already out there, what can I understand about the program and the principles, and then talking to people who have been through the program, just like you said, like we're doing now. Just that makes so much sense too, because then you're certainly going to get someone's opinion and their experience, but you can layer those all together with what you're seeing and, with what you know about yourself, which it definitely sounds like you did. So that was such a fun thing to hear how thorough you were in that choice. And then specifically, so one of the things we talk about here at iPEC is the 7 levels of energy. And if you want to share a little bit about, in your words, what those are, and then kind of how those have shown up in your life. I felt like you had some cool examples of ways that understanding the 7 levels of energy have shown up for you.
One thing I wanted to add before talking about the 7 levels of energy, I share my process of how I chose the coaching program in a blog post in my blog that I posted like back in 2015. And actually in there, I invite people who are in the same point of me, like, oh, if you have trouble choosing your coaching program, I'm really available to share any experience or to help you in any way. And I always, when they write me the email, and always jump into a call with them because an alumni did that for me. And I always talk about the 7 levels of energy and how I discovered it. When I read the iPEC book, and I was really mind blown because I read other coaching book and all the other trainings, and I discovered a tool that is so powerful. And I'm like, wow, because I tell them, because for me, it's really the gem of iPEC training. It's for me, is one of the core. Of course, they teach you so many other coaching tools, but this is the whole base of it. And I can not talk about it when I jump in a call with a potential coach and I say like, I explain you in few words, what is the 7 levels of energy. And I explain them like, you go through life and you know that there's like positive or negative energy, but in iPEC, we call it positive, like anabolic, and negative catabolic, because anabolic is like creating energy, expansive. And when you feel somebody or situation is anabolic, you want more of it. And catabolic is like, it's draining, it's like destroying this kind of energy. And I said in iPEC, and in very few words, iPEC, we cut those levels of energy in 7 layers. And each 7 layers, you have the thought associated with it, emotion and action. And the thing we were taught in iPEC is like how to coach people through. And I give the example, level 1 is that, level 2 is that, and they get the feel of it and say, oh yes, and so they understand. So I don't know if I have time to share that here right now, but if you're curious about that, go read the book. It's explained. There's no secret about it. It's like it's out there. And so like learn about the 7 levels of energy. And to go back to your question, I think when I learned and went through the iPEC program and I learned about the 7 levels of energy, I could begin to see the movies, the book, the situation in my life through this framework. And I'm like, oh, this person level 1, or this, I feel level 2, or some kind of thing. It's like, ooh, and it really taught me and gave me some, maturity and wisdom about my situation, and understand that every levels of energy has, I didn't say that, has advantages and disadvantages, and it's okay. And it taught me so much.
I was on mute. I couldn't get myself off of mute. Also relatable. Yeah, I love that. One of the things that you kind of touched on right at the end there is that there's no real good and bad in terms of, we're all going to experience all those ranges of energy. And so, yes, how do you, coach yourself, coach others through sort of, okay, recognizing I am at one of these lower levels. I'm at a level 1 or 2. How do I coach myself through these levels to get to a place that feels more like how I want to show up? So removing that sort of judgment of, oh no, I'm in level 1, this is a bad thing. It's more of, oh, this is information I can use to help me move forward with this experience. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I was going to ask you, so I think you've answered this in some ways, but I'd love to hear specifically why you chose iPEC.
It's a really good question. In my process, I go back to that. I shortlisted for other training programs. And when I went through it, I discovered, for example, in one of them in the book, it talks about like how to read, understand and decode dreams. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't work for me, because for me, it's important to be, I want to say tangible coach, but I didn't want to do read dreams. So I understood like, oh, this one is out. So there was like 3. And I read another book. The other book, the program was like, for me, what they explained was very basic, like the posture or the purpose. It didn't really talk to me. And when I read the iPEC book, it was really compelling, because it give you so innovative tools, and I could really relate to it. And iPEC has the most comprehensive teaching program. When I went through it, has so many hours, and you train you meet in person. Back then I met in person. I know that you can do it fully online now, but for me it was I really liked it doing in person. So I wanted to do that. It was one of the things. And just to tell you the truth, at some point I think I was stuck at choosing between 2 or 3 training programs, and I didn't know, because okay, the price is sometimes more likely the same, the length of time as well. And at some point I didn't give it up, but I began to like, okay, I don't know what to choose anymore, because my head cannot choose. So I decided like, okay, I need to trust my intuition and my heart. And I remember it was one of the teleclass I went of iPEC, and it says something that really resonates with me. Just to circle back some background, I understood that my life purpose was to live with purpose and to live a life of passion and love what I do and improve the life of others. And in this teleclass, they said something about iPEC, about the core energy coaching. I wrote it down. So because I usually say, I don't know what they said, but they say those two words. It doesn't really make sense, but it says about the core energy program process. It's a process that taps into the inner purpose and passion of a person, couple, group, organization, and combine that with an action-oriented plan to achieve extraordinary and sustainable results. And I'll never remember this whole sentence, but there's two words that popped up for me. I was like, oh, it's for me. When they said purpose and passion, and kind of like, wow. And that completely pushed me towards iPEC, beyond everything that I kind of like listed. And when I went into iPEC, the very first teleclass, the very first time I met, the very first person I met from iPEC kind of confirmed that I was meant to take iPEC training.
Oh gosh, this is fantastic, because I feel like you went through and you looked at all of these things from a lens of sort of what are the facts, but also what do those facts mean to me? Because someone else might read these same books and go, oh, I really do want this thing. This is for me because of this thing. And I love that lens of sort of, like you said, gathering all the information, but then running it through the filter of what does my intuition say? What feels right to me? What's going to be the best spot for me based on what I know about myself? And at this point, you know, you had been through this process of, well, I don't want this. And I want this sort of healing and, you know, health situation. And this is what feels good to me. And I want, you know, I've gone through this life purpose, figuring out piece. So it just feels like I can see how the thread runs through your whole story of what is going to be the right thing for me.
Exactly. What I like about my process, because somehow I like it, is like I use my head. My head was like selecting and classifying all the information. I use my heart and my intuition, because the head gathered everything and the heart and intuition has the kind of somehow the last say, because kind of take something like, oh, does it resonate? Does it resonate? Does it resonate? And like, oh, it resonated with iPEC. And it works.
Yeah, you get to a decision point and you could go, my head says this thing, but I know it just doesn't, I don't want to do it. Or I do really want to do it. That's such a
the head like had three options, but the intuition kind of like, now we're going to listen to that part. Actually, it's part of the training in iPEC. I think I did it without knowing it, but they teach you that.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing all of that. I would love to open this up if anybody has any questions. We can give those a minute to trickle in. And if not, we can keep chatting.
If you don't have question, I have a few ideas to share to people who are hesitating on considering iPEC. Something that I always tell the potential people who go to the training and call me is like, oh, I'm at the same point as you. I don't know which one to choose. And I always tell them the same thing. Not the same thing because not as if it was just a marketing sell point, but because I truly believe it and I feel it. And the thing about iPEC that was so life-changing for me is like iPEC, of course, they teach you tools, but they don't only teach you tools, they kind of like teach you how to be a coach. And the thing is, they teach you philosophy of coaching, how to be, and and the thing like it's 100% sure is like at the end of the training, you know how to coach. That's the thing that is 100% sure for me. And I was like mind blown because like when I started as a non-coach at all, and I became a coach, and I was so happy, and so many things changed from that point. That's one of the biggest value I got from iPEC.
I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing. Looks like we have a question. Okay. Did you do the training while you were still working in another job, or take time off for it? Making the break from a stable income is scary, but I feel too distracted to try to do it while working in my current job.
Actually, I like telling story, and that's a really interesting story. It's been a long time. I was so disengaged with my job because I I knew it was hurting my health. So I kind of like suddenly, I got so disengaged and I was really doing the bare minimum. And so when I got sick, I took 1 year and a half, and it took 1 year and a half for me before making any move. And it took me 6 months before figuring out what I wanted to do and starting coaching. So 2 years. As soon as I stepped one feet in iPEC, I knew I wanted to be a coach, and it's going to be that. And I was working till 3 months or 2 months after I started iPEC. And after but not because it was too much of a workload, because I knew I wanted to become a coach. But in terms of workload, as I remember, you have 1 hour you are coaching somebody, 1 hour you're being coached. So it's been 2 hours, and 1 hour and a half of teleclass, and 1 hour and a half of group coaching. So I don't know, 5 hours per week, plus the exercise and all. So it's not that much, but it's enough for you to grow week after week, day after day.
Yeah, thank you for that. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to drop them in here. If you have a follow-up to that answer, feel free to drop that in here as well. Yeah, I think it's always so helpful to hear how people go through the program, what pieces did you do when, or, all of those kinds of things. So thanks for sharing all of that with us. Yeah, are there any, let's see. How many hours per week is required?
So like I said, so 1 hour you're being coached, by a peer coach, and 1 hour you're coaching somebody else, 1 hour and a half of teleclass. I don't think they call it teleclass anymore.
We call them webinars.
Sorry?
We call them webinars, but yes,
okay.
It's a learning webinar where you're watching and learning some more things.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of an old-fashioned way of saying it, but it's okay. And 1 hour of group call. Actually, a group call, just for your information, is like you are in a group of coaches and you are talking about a topic you're learning this week. So it's in total around 5 hours plus. I don't know how much time you can put in doing the exercise, but you don't have to do it every week. It's the exercise you have to submit before the end of the training. But there's a lot. But it's more about working on yourself, growing and learning stuff.
Does that help answer your question? Feel free to jump in with any follow-up questions on that as well. And it's such a helpful thing to do, the being coached as well as the coaching. It feels like a really nice pair to me, because you're seeing other people learn to coach as well as you're being coached, and then you're getting to practice coaching as well. So less than 10 hours per week. Would you say that feels accurate for you, Anna?
Yeah. But actually less than 10 hours. But for me, myself, I went for a different process that I chose. From the very beginning, I think after the very first weekend of meeting in iPEC, I decided to grow and learn more. So I decided to give free coaching, but to 5 per person, and I decided to give them 10 sessions to learn and to try and so it took me something like 5 hours more, but it was just willingly. It was so exciting for me to experience all these tools that I'm learning and growing. So yeah.
That's really cool to hear. I love that you did that. Yes. Cool. Anybody else have any questions or anything you want to share? Okay, looks like we have another question. Nothing from Facebook. Is it possible to engage with a coach in the program before you start to help further identify passion and get focused? Yes. Yes is the short answer. So we have our admissions team has admissions coaches. They have all been through the program. They are all certified coaches, and they're there. So let me know if this answers your question. They're there to help you look at your goals, your kind of dreams for being a coach, like what you have in mind. And they're there to help not only answer your questions, but coach you through, questions that might come up, or, specifically where you are and where you want to go. Does that help? Yes, great. Thank you. I always like to know if we've really answered someone's question. Thank you. Yeah, do you want to add anything to that one, Anna? I know you said you had a good experience when you spoke to an admissions coach.
Yeah, I had an amazing experience, and I still remember that person. For me, I met somebody who has high energy. When I say that, it seems not so tangible, but somebody who has a high energy. What is that? It's somebody who is engaging, somebody who makes you feel safe, somebody who makes you feel like, I want to, what you have when you see that person. And this person was incredibly nice and was helping me, was not pushy, and was helping me make the step exactly where I was. So, and that was really helpful. And I didn't feel like I had to enroll in the program. Or I remember just a small anecdote. I remember, because I'm from France and I'm not used to do that. When I was about to pay, he said like, oh, we can pay with the credit card and you can spell it to me. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to do that. It's weird. You know, it felt weird because we don't do that in France. And because I used to work in security. It's like, oh, be careful with this scam. You know? But he was like, okay, no problem. You get back to me whenever you want. And I felt it was so caring, nice of a person. And it's not so often that you meet that kind of person, especially in France. But I felt like, oh, it was incredible experience for me. Just that.
That's so helpful to hear. And yeah, you make such a great point. They're there to help you make the decision that is right for you. And Evan will put some information in the chat shortly here about how you can ask questions of Anna if you have questions after we get off the call, and then also how you can get in touch with admissions if you'd like to speak to somebody. Okay. I know iPEC provides an opportunity to choose a niche. I always have a hard time saying that word in the program. Are you limited to just one, or can you pursue two? For example, life coaching and executive and leadership development coaching focus.
You want to answer or I answer?
Do you want to either way?
I have trouble remembering, actually. I think there's some dedicated course that you can take, and you can take exactly the one you want. So I took the life coaching and I didn't take the others. But yeah, I don't know if it changed since then.
Yeah, this is a great question. My understanding is that yes, that you could choose to pursue a second niche if you would like to. I would double check with admissions about the details on that one. I'm not up on the specifics there, but my instinct says yes. I hope that's helpful.
I want to give some pointers about niching, because niching is, I think it's different because the market in the US and market for me in France, it's different because like when you start off, I think you need to kind of like specialize and to be noticeable when the market is big. But when I started off, I was just a life coach and I was coaching everybody. And because for me, it was about getting experience. It was about coaching and learning and growing every person I coach. And I think niching is not for me. It's about like knowing what you love, because part of who you are coaching is just a previous version of yourself. For me, I'm coaching now the person who is looking for their purpose, because I looked so bad for my purpose. Like, oh, it was such an amazing experience to discover it. And now I coach Asian women because I am an Asian woman. So we don't need to look so far for what you want to coach. Just like look at yourself and how you needed help yourself, or what kind of process you went through, and you can share to others.
Love that. And I love that you're coaching a previous version of yourself in some ways. Point too.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Any last questions here? Evan has put some info in the chat about how you can get in touch with Anna. You can get in touch with admissions, and you can check out past episodes of the Energy Explorer Live series. And also, like I said, check in with admissions about the niche question, because I don't want to give you the wrong info there. But it's a great question, and they'll definitely be able to answer that and give you a lot more detail there. So yeah, I don't see any other questions coming through, but again, Anna has told me that she really loves answering these kinds of questions and helping people sort of think through their decision and talk to them about making a decision. So feel free to reach out to her. Anna, anything else you want to add before we head out?
I was thinking, no, I think I said everything, but I think I don't want to be too salesy, but I'm very enthusiastic about it. I think iPEC on the path of becoming the person I want to be is really kind of like a catalyzer, kind of accelerate everything, taught me so much just to be a person, just to live a better life. And at the same time, I have a job, I can help others. And so it's so meaningful. And there's a before and after iPEC. Like I guess you can somehow learn those tools, but like iPEC condense it, and like you're among people who I felt I belonged, because they're so interested in helping each others and all. And one thing that I was told, I remember because there's this Facebook group of the trainees and graduates. And I remember I was so excited. And I went there, I was like, I'm going to London to train. And is there anybody there? And I think one person, and actually it was the trainer, but I knew it only after, because I will be there. I was like, yeah, I'm going to see you. I thought it was a student like me. And he said, like, you're going to love it so much. He told me that. And he said, you're going to meet your tribe and they're going to follow you after. And so many persons keep saying that you are so vulnerable for that process. You grow so much because it changes you when you grow, you kind of like explore yourself and learn yourself so much. And that's what iPEC is for me as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Is all of the training remote, or is any of it in person? Yes, there is in person. There are in-person options as well. Evan, do you have that page on the site? Is that something we could look at now for, I can't remember where all the locations are. And if not, I'm pretty sure it's on the website about where the different locations are, but you can choose fully remote, or you can choose to do it in person, which I think would be really cool. I've been doing it remote. I'm about to do Mod 2 in February, so I'm excited about that. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming and for your questions. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
There we go. Thanks for finding that page, Evan. I started to do it and I thought, this is not going to work while I'm also trying to talk. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. This was great.